Hey, Gavin. We're waiting for the other third of our show to arrive.
All good. It's a nice quiet Tuesday. So
Oh, don't say that. You just jinxed yourself.
I already did that yesterday. So
Uh, It's like, don't say quiet. Don't say looking for something to do.
yeah.
Um, for those that are joining, we'll give everyone a few minutes to get loaded into the session, but we were talking backstage last week. We had our team retreat at our farm, and um, it was everyone now wants ATVs and side by sides. It was fun. It rained all day on Tuesday though, so we only got to play on the trails one day. Hey Nadia.
Hello.
We were just chatting, waiting for everyone to get loaded into the session. So you're right on time. We were talking about ATVs and side by sides.
Okay. Yeah, I was on PTO recently in Alaska, and I think I'm still on the, different time zones. So I'm still getting back,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, hold on, it's 1 o'clock Central Time. Need to get back
Yeah.
on this call.
You were on a cruise, right?
I was my first cruise ever.
Yeah, how was it?
It was a lot of fun. I think just Alaska is gorgeous. And then the whole family went together. So we were forced to spend time together. You had no escape. So it was actually really, really nice.
That is awesome. My mother went on an Alaska cruise recently too, but she went with some of my family. I did not go. I would love to go. I just am not going with family.
Yeah, there were 9 of us.
Wow.
So there was no escaping it.
Life's complicated enough. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. So, welcome everyone to the SIP, a space where conversation fuels connection, collaboration drives innovation, and industry leaders come together to tackle challenges. Just like catching up over coffee, the SIP is all about meaningful discussion that move us forward. And today we are here to share insights and real world case studies and strategies that highlight the power of working together. A big thank you to all of you for taking time out of your day to join us. Today's show is proudly sponsored by Ocrolus, and this is a continuation of a conversation we started back in June. And joining me again is Nadia Aziz, the general manager of Ocrolus. Nadia, welcome to the SIP.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me back. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Awesome. And joining us with the lender's perspective is Gavin Todd, the VP of Mortgage Systems at Compass Mortgage. Gavin, welcome to the SIP. Are
Happy
you
to
a
be
first
here.
timer? Are you a first timer?
I think it's the first time I get to talk.
Okay. That's awesome. So I hope you brought like, bourbon or you have something to sip because that's like the
It
whole
is not
premise.
that quiet of a Tuesday.
Mm, darn it. I was hoping for something different. Maybe next week, the 11th when we do the sip, we'll be on the road. So maybe we'll bring bourbon in the conversation. At conference, the sip does come with bourbon, just so you know. It's Tuesday at
Signed up for the wrong
lunchtime.
week
So
then.
yeah. Tuesday at lunchtime, it's my last content at a conference, so there's definitely bourbon involved. All right, so let's pick up where we left off. So on June 9th, we talked about Oculus was building an AI into mortgage operations before AI was even a buzzword, a decade of intentional architecture ahead of the industry. So today I want to pick up that thread and get real about the lender side of the equation. So Gavin, when you look at AI today, which I feel like AI is light
And
years
everything.
different than it was June the 9th. How are you and your team actually evaluating it, and what does it look like? What does looking at AI actually mean in your shop?
Yeah, I mean, I think AI, if you look back 2 years ago, it was kind of a buzzword and it was You can make marketing materials, but you got to look out because everyone has 3 hands and 12 fingers. Um, and it has skyrocketed. And I feel like we're trying to make decisions now, but you really have no idea where everything's going to be at in 6 months. So it's trying to sift through what's real today and not get caught up with what's coming next, but also making sure that, like, hey, is this an actual lift for our users? Is this going to make their lives easier? Is this going to streamline our process? Or is this really just adding overhead? But some of that's identifying the right tools for the right people. Um, one tool may make sense for one department and it completely is not a good fit for another department. So it's sifting through those realities of, is this truly better than a person, or is it a good fit?
Yeah. You bring up interesting about, it's about people, and really like your client is your borrower, but it's also your teams,
Mhm.
right? So you have many different clients from your perspective. But Nadia, you sit across the table from lenders making these evaluations all the time. What separates a lender who successfully operationalizes AI from one who buys the tool and never gets the traction?
Yeah, no, I think that's such an important question, Jody. And I think, it's almost like the buying and deciding on the AI is step one, and it's almost like the easier step because I think really changing how people work is the harder part. And I think what we have found is that there are probably three things that we've observed that successful lenders do really well, right? And I think the first is they don't start with the question of where can we use AI, right? I think to Gavin's point, really thinking about what is the need, where is the need, and then deploying the AI, right? So it starts with more of a where are our people spending time on things that don't require judgment, don't require their expertise, can be solved through automation, and then building the AI into the workflow rather than asking them to change their processes completely, right? So I think that's kind of the first thing is really about understanding where AI should be deployed. I think the second thing that lenders that are successful do well is that they don't try and change everything at once, right? Let's not go in and just do this big bang automation. Everything is going to change at once. I think it requires starting with one workflow, in building in the AI, seeing what the improvements are, measuring it. One of the most important things with change management is reinforcement, right? When you see it, then you start wanting to do more of it. And so looking at the actual results and seeing the improvement and the lift that the organization is getting through the adoption of AI, and then moving forward and expanding through other workflows. So I think it is starting off small, seeing the value, building the trust, and then expanding. And then I think the last thing is this is not an IT project, right? This is a business imperative. And I think really treating it like a business imperative, I think is very, very important. I think it starts with executive sponsorship. And I think Gavin and his team at Compass Mortgage do a really good job of that. And then it also includes operations leaders, underwriting leaders, trainers, enablement, folks from our side, all working together to help drive that change. So I think those are the things that we have found typically are the sort of recipe for success when it comes to being able to, get move from, hey, I've bought an AI tool to actually realizing the value from the AI tool.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. The executives are bought in at Compass. Kevin is on our owner operator working group every month, and he preaches the move for technology and tries to get everyone else just to take a step forward to implementing technology. So it's very clear what is going on there. And Nadia, what you described, I had my VP of technology when I was at, or chief technology officer when I was at Nationwide Mortgage Bankers. He now runs product for a tech company. What you described as embedding the technology in the workflow, so it's not changing the process, we referred to as giving people their veggies and their milkshake. And it's very true that if you can introduce technology in a way that we say the best technology is the technology that no one's talking about. So if it's incorporated naturally into a workflow, people begin adopting it without even realizing that they're adopting it. Then they kind of back into the things that they really didn't like to do to begin with, and then start asking, hey, what else can you do to take away these mundane tasks that I don't really like doing in the first place that frees me up to do stuff. So,
Yeah,
um,
I may borrow that line, Judy, if that's okay with you,
yeah,
because I think that's exactly what it is, right? I think it is, making it so that, it isn't something that just feels overwhelming.
Yeah.
And then you become sort of a champion yourself
yeah.
for that technology because you've, without it becoming disruptive, you've realized value.
We'll give him credit. His name's Brett Bivenauer. So if you're not connected with him, you should connect with him. He knows what it's like to implement technology, and for probably one of the most challenging executives in the industry when it comes to change, because I'm more like a human wrecking ball, and Brett was the massager to make everything actually work. But Gavin, let's talk about adoption on the ground. Getting leadership to buy a tool is one thing, getting your underwriters or processors to actually trust it and use it every day is another. What did the adoption curve look like for your team? Is it truly like they're listening to the top and just doing as they see the executives leading?
There's some of that, but also the balance of that is getting feedback from them and trying to actively work on their concerns, refine this process so that it works for them. We're also very proactive into the how do we automate this? How do we insert this in this process? Instead of going, hey, we have a new tool and you need to click a button in extra time that you never had to before, going, hey, this is already done for you. We're cutting half a step out. So you're already 2 steps ahead. And then it's, there is some get your feet underneath you and understand the new dynamic of it, but it's happening automatically. It's happening on your files. I'm not giving you the option to, oops, I forgot to click the button because I didn't feel like doing it. It already happened. And so it's doing two things. It's kind of forcing them into it, but it's also cutting out that time. The challenge is to keep them from going back and redoing the work. Where I automatically did it for you, and then building that trust to go, hey, you don't have to go back and do all of the work over again. Because now, if we're supposed to be saving 5 minutes and then you spent an extra 10 going back and redoing it on top of what we were doing, it's a net negative. So it's working with them and getting that feedback and figuring out ways to, um, hey, when can we get access to the file? What are these handoff points between processing and underwriting, or at file turn in where we can kind of sneak that stuff into the process, and kind of instead of going, hey, you're going to get the file and then you have to do work. It's, hey, you're going to get the file and the work's already been done. Now you can kind of run with it. So
Yeah. Yeah, and to get consistency, because one of the biggest complaints from loan officers about processors and underwriters for years has been, if this person touches my file, I know this is going to be the outcome. If this person touches the same file, I know this is going to be the outcome. So by automating those tasks, the redundancy and the consistency definitely shows up in your customer experience, which many
yeah.
times for a lender is the loan officer. So let's talk about oversight because it's where things get complicated fast. Gavin, you are ultimately responsible for the outcome of every loan decision your team makes. But if AI is touching that decision, you don't own the model. And in a lot of cases, you don't fully understand how it arrived as an output. So, how are you thinking about this gap of AI governance and who's responsible for outcomes?
Um, some of that is understanding where it's coming from. I think, and before we'd have these conversations with the vendors and go, hey, what models are you using? And we're trying to build some of our own tools internally. So there's some familiarity there of like, hey, this model works this way and it's good for that. But I think Fannie and Freddie coming up with requirements for documenting this kind of puts a little bit of metal in that request to go, hey, this isn't just me as a nerd asking for some of your documentation, but like I need this for compliance. So understanding truly what they're doing from that end is helpful. But at the same time, we, as much as we're trying to automate the process, none of it's fully automated. None of this is you cover our eyes blindly giving an approval or a denial. It's doing the work and helping us get through the slow parts of the process, the redundant parts of the process, and then giving it to a human to review. It's a lot quicker to go, hey, let me just bump through these 20 things versus they have to do actual all 20 steps. The hard part with that is getting them to go, all right, I need to engage with the smaller list instead of just going, it's always going to be correct. So it's that balance of I saved you 20 minutes, can you give me two to truly focus on this and kind of poke through the different parts? And then let us know and raise your hand when it looks off. Let me know when the tool broke.
Yeah, and then Nadia, flipping that around from a vendor side, what is Oculus's responsibility when a lender is depending on your model for an outcome that they are accountable for? Where is the line between vendor transparency and lender due diligence?
Yeah. Again, a really, really important question. And, I think I'll start actually by touching on what Gavin just said, right? I think the idea is that ultimately we're not asking lenders to trust a black box. And that's it, right? What we're trying to do is giving lenders, better information, faster information, more accurate information, so that their teams can make confident decisions, within the constraints of their own credit policies and other sort of guidelines, et cetera, that they may have, right? So again, this isn't a trust it. That's where it stops. I do think that there is definitely, sort of shared responsibility that we have as a vendor and a lender, to ensure that, we are delivering outcomes and outputs that are accurate and meeting all of the requirements. And I think our responsibility isn't just to, build AI tools, right? Our responsibility is to build AI tools that are transparent. It is to build tools that can be explained. It is to make sure that we are able to articulate what data was used, how it was used, to ensure that we have an audit trail so that if a lender needs to go back and revisit a file, all of that information is there. It is to make sure that we are continuing to build trust and confidence by sort of eating our own dog food in a way, right? So we have a team that we have built of underwriters that every day take a sample of files and review them and validate that the outputs that we are providing are accurate, right? So we are making sure that we're continuing to, again, like I said, build confidence and trust in our product, by doing that. And so I think, at the end of the day, the best outcomes are those where you combine technology and the humans, and really make sure that those are working together effectively to get the maximum value. But there is definitely sort of, we view it as sort of, shared responsibility that we have as well. And that's how we try and address it.
So definitely human checks, sampling, evaluating. So this question has come up a couple of times, and something that I think about just being a recovering lender, I'm not buying technology. But Gavin, when you're out there buying technology, has the order in which your teams look at technology changed? Do you go in compliance first now, or are you still going like your ops teams go in, they find a solution to something, then technology comes in? Have we changed the order in which you're buying technology?
Um, no. So at the end of the day, business needs come first. If we can't close loans, then I don't care how compliant it is, and that goes for every other system. I had an instructor when I was in school, so my background's in IT. He said the most secure computer is in a cement box 6 feet underground, turned off and not plugged into anything. And that is 100% true. It is completely useless at that point. And so that's that balance. But making sure that compliance is not an afterthought. They are not hey, we already made a decision. I need you to rubber stamp this, but hey, we're making a decision. What concerns do you have about this? At what point do you want to be pulled into these? What questions do you have for these vendors? Let's get you in a room with them so you can actually ask them the questions and not just the handoff of we already signed this and it rolled out 2 weeks ago. Here's your heads up. figure it out, but actually engaging with them. And I think that's true for ops, for the
Yeah.
IT side. Like you need to have this buy-in to make sure that it's going to be more successful, but it's also going to be more secure.
Yeah. Nadia, have you seen a change in the way that lenders are buying technology, or are you seeing a change in the order of which they're asking you questions?
Yeah, I think there definitely has been a shift, and it also somewhat may depend a bit on sort of lender type, IMB versus bank
Mhm.
versus credit union, etc.
Yep.
But I think there is more of a sort of diligence process around AI. I think that is partly because of, as Gavin mentioned earlier, sort of some of the guidelines that the GSEs are putting out. I think banks inherently just have a bit more of that, and I think there's definitely more of a process that exists now
Yeah.
around that. Sometimes we're the first vendor that is going through that process with
Yeah.
the lender, but it definitely has changed. And I think the questions that are being asked are all valid, right? I don't think people are asking us to say, hey, explain to us, how every single parameter that goes into your, machine learning model, right? That is not what people are asking for, right? They're asking for what is the data that you're using? Like, what is it that you're using to train these models? What is the source of that data? If I'm sharing my data, how is that secure? All things that are incredibly, incredibly valid. Um, you know, do we have change logs if things, are going to be updated in kind of the logic of what we're doing? Do we have a way of tracking what all of that is? So again, very reasonable asks. I mean, when I was in sort of the lending world, I would certainly ask for all of those things as well. So yes, a shift, but a shift that makes, a ton of
Yeah.
sense. I don't think going to sort of curtail the ability for AI to be deployed. I think it's actually going to make it more structured and therefore more efficient.
Yeah. Hopefully you start to see consistency in those questions because we've been working through the AI Council to create basic questions to ask of vendors as our lenders are looking at technology. And we hope to be able to provide that to our preferred partners at TMC so that you can help our lenders navigate your products or products that are using AI. And what I would love to see, it's like you usually lead, especially banks, credit unions, but even IMBs with, do you have your SOC 2? So we need to, because many times the lenders don't have the knowledge or expertise in the AI models. I think Compass is at an advantage where they sit because of Gavin and his team's expertise, but many smaller lenders don't have that expertise. So being able to know that someone else that is given the authority to grant certificates or that they can vet technology and say this one is okay. The other thing that I would like to see happen is that the agencies actually, if they just say these companies are AI approved, that they've proven to meet our requirements, it takes the onus off of the lenders to know and trust that if they're using that specific vendor, that they're covered from the AI framework perspective that Fannie and Freddie are setting out. Um, but before we go, I want to mark our calendars because next week, the three of us are going to be together at the ACT Tech Summit on August the 12th and the 13th. And this year, AI is the entire focus. We have an incredible keynote lined up. Bradley Clerkin from Thought Focus is speaking on the practical use of AI and moving past the hype and into what lenders can actually do with it today. And our AI Council is bringing the oversight conversation that we're talking about to main stage with Brian View of Mismo on Thursday morning, and they're going to dig into the AI oversight, what it actually looks like for lenders, plus breakout sessions with the AI Tech Council and how lenders are acquiring technology for the preferred partners who will be there. So, Nadia, before we close, any thoughts on what you're hoping to come out of the conversations next week?
Yeah, no, certainly very excited about it and looking forward to it. And I think the thing that I'm most excited about is seeing the industry come together to share what's actually working, right? I think we're at a point where every lender is exploring AI. I would venture to say that no one has quite figured it all out yet. So I think it'll be great to have people together. And I think the forums like that, I think really give us a chance to have conversations beyond the sort of the marketing hype, right?
Yeah.
And understand, through honest conversation, um, how does implementation work? How does adoption work? What are measurable business outcomes? How do we think about governance? I think how do we accelerate adoption across the industry? I think that is the kind of conversation that I'm really looking forward to the most next week.
Yep. Awesome. And then, Gavin, from your side of things, what are you hoping to gain out of the conversation next week?
I'm really excited to see where everyone's at. Like I said, this stuff's moving so quickly that you talk to somebody 3 months and it's just like everything has shifted. I think it's a great opportunity to kind of get a pulse check on where the industry's at, what the emerging technology is, and what's up and coming, and what you thought was 2 years out and is here today. So.
Yeah. You were on the review committee and helped select who the presenters would be in the pitch competition. Is there a specific company that you're most excited to see? We won't say that you're rooting for them because we don't want you to sway any of the votes.
I don't think so. Like I said, I'm really excited to see where everyone's at because there's a handful of them that I had talked to in the past year or 2 years, and just kind of going through that again, I'm like, wow, like this has really moved. Like where are we at? Where are we going? What are those opportunities that maybe we haven't recognized yet to find some redundant tasks, to find some ways that we can find some efficiencies, and kind of bake it into our process.
Yeah. Well, guys, the minutes go quickly. That's a wrap. It's been an incredible conversation. I do truly appreciate the insights that you shared today. Huge thank you to Oculus for sponsoring today's episode and to Nadia and Gavin for lending their expertise. Can't wait to see you both next week. And of course, a special shout out to our listeners as your engagement helps drive the industry forward. We will be back next week, August 11th, from a hotel room in Dallas. um, and I will be, Candor is our sponsor. They also will be participating in the AI underwriting RFP at the Tech Summit alongside of Oculus. And we hope to see many of you in person at the ACT Tech Summit as possible. And if you're not a member of TMC and you want to explore what we have to offer, please reach out to me directly. So until next week, cheers. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you. Bye.